Brought to you by Hug House Productions.
On March 27th, 2024, Elon Musk was deposed in a libel lawsuit filed by Ben Brody, a 22-year-old Jewish political science major at the University of California. When Elon Musk quote that Ben Brody could be a neo-Nazi undercover federal agent in a, quote, false flag situation, Ben Brody was faced with so much harassment, he and his family had to leave their homes. Musk and his lawyer, Alex Spiro, attempted to retroactively make the deposition confidential. But it wasn't. Welcome to The Deposition, a dramatic reading of the public record transcript of Elon Musk's deposition in full. We promise. This is really real, a real thing that happened in a real lawsuit that exists in real life, word for word, with the addition of some actor editorialization. I don't think you'll blame us once you've listened. You can find the official court transcript, the transcript for this episode, and more in the show notes of this episode and at hughouse.productions. Enjoy The Deposition. The Deposition is brought to you by another podcast we think you're really gonna love. Everyone knows that. The Search for Ulterior Motives. This podcast is a deep dive investigation into one of the internet's favorite mysteries, a song that nobody could seem to source for the longest time until it was found in a pretty unlikely place. Some porn from the 80s. Here's the trailer. You can subscribe wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including wherever you're listening to this right now. Go listen. Enjoy.
In October 2021, anonymous user Carl92 uploaded a 17-second sample of a song to song naming community What's That Song? The song sounded so familiar to so many people. And even though Carl92 mysteriously vanished a few months later, thousands of people were hooked into a years-long global search for a piece of lost media.
There was just something about this song that, well, like everybody says at first, it kind of creeps me out.
It's like if someone had been in like 1986, like filming, MTV at 1 a.m.
You think, oh my gosh, I know this song, and you don't know it.
As the song grew in popularity, online communities dedicated to the search for the song grew to include tens of thousands of people. Debates raged about everything from the song's lyrics.
You can't really understand exactly what the person is saying. It's almost like a treasure hunt.
To theories about the true origins of the song. Could it be AI generated? Was it the beginning of an alternate reality game? Or maybe it was an unreleased demo from a major artist.
The Darren Hayes situation is one that has always actually been kind of frustrating to me and I think to other people.
Hoaxes were created to try to capitalize on the song's growing popularity.
And I said, I don't believe this story. I don't believe any of this happened. I think that you're making stuff up.
This summer, Lost Media brings you the story behind the global search for ulterior motives. Hear from the people closest to the investigation, beginning with the song's upload.
I'm a big, strong believer in the theory that Carl knew where this song was from.
To its shocking discovery.
I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I click it and somebody's like, everyone knows that has been found.
I felt disbelief. I thought it was some hoax or something.
I'm Josh Chapdelaine. Welcome to Everyone Knows That, the search for ulterior motives. A mini-series about the global search for a song that captivated tens of thousands of people. A story about community, virality, nostalgia, and the song's shocking discovery. New episodes begin every Monday, starting June 17th.
What would happen if the identity of the song was discovered? If they found out who created it and maybe even the official name of it, maybe they found the rest of the song. Maybe it is a snippet from a commercial and they found out which commercial and who created it or whatever. What would happen next?
Okay. Let's talk about the second tweet that you interacted with, okay? So let's go ahead and bring up tab C, and we'll mark this as Exhibit 3. So here we see this is the following day, June 26th, and as you see, your tweet at the bottom was at 5:34 a.m., okay? So now we're on the second day, June 26th. You'll see at the top there's a tweet from Matt Wallace 888, okay? And that tweet reads, "Remember when they called us conspiracy theorists for saying the feds were planting fake Nazis at rallies?" And then it has a crying, laughing emoji. Do you see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then in the tweet, we see the same pictures that we saw in the Dr. Frensor tweet, correct?
They look like the same pictures.
Yeah, it's the same set of images that Dr. Frensor had attached to their tweet, right?
They look like the same images.
And then you replied, "Always remove their masks," correct?
Yes, I think we want to shine a light on whoever's doing these things.
Okay, all right. So I want to move past these two tweets that you saw on June 25th and June 26th, and now I want to move to June 27th, which this is the date that the lawsuit focuses on, the tweet that it takes issue with, all right? So on June 27th, you understood there was an existing allegation you had seen on Twitter about this Ben Brody person, the college student who wanted to join the government.
I'm sorry, are you going to show this?
No, I'm asking you a question, actually, so listen again, and I'll ask it again, okay? On June 27th, you understood there was an existing allegation you had seen on Twitter about this Ben Brody person, this college student who wanted to join the government, correct?
I guess there would have been... I guess I would have been aware at the time that there were some posts the prior day. I mean, I'm on the platform a lot, so there are... I see sometimes several thousand posts per day.
Sure, but what I'm saying is, all I'm saying is, now that we're on June 27th, we know that in the prior 2 days, you had become aware that there was this existing allegation about Ben Brody.
Yes, I'm not, it would not have been top of mind, but certainly I think I probably would have vaguely recalled it, yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about that morning. Let's bring up tab D. All right, this is going to be Exhibit 4. This is the exchange that the lawsuit takes issue with, okay?
Uh-huh.
And we see here at the top is Zero Hedge. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, you know Zero Hedge is a blog with anonymous contributors, right?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, were you aware of Zero Hedge before you responded to this tweet?
I've seen posts from Zero Hedge before.
Okay. Do you feel like they're a media organization that you're familiar with, or is this something you just every now and then see tweets from? And could you describe for me your level of familiarity with them?
I see a lot of their posts. I don't know the people behind it.
Okay, got you. Now, in this tweet, Zero Hedge says, "Patriot Front white supremacists unmasked as suspected Fed." Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, now based on what you'd seen at this time, you did not contend that this unmasked person was a federal law enforcement member, but instead was that it was a college student. Is that right?
My post simply says, "Looks like one is a college student who wants to join the government, and another is maybe an Antifa member, but it's a probable false flag situation." I also put at community notes, which is the fact-checking system on the X Twitter platform. So the reason I put at community notes there is so that community notes can assess the accuracy of the statement.
Okay, objection, non-responsive. Do you remember what my question was, Mr. Musk?
Please restate.
Okay. Extremely good. Oh my god. Man's a fucking idiot.
He's so dumb.
Tell us how you really feel, Mr. Bankston.
Yeah. This man has the patience of a goddamn saint. All right.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. I'll do it again. All right. What I'm trying to understand is, based on what you had seen at this point before you posted this tweet, like when you see the Zero Hedge tweet, based on what you had already seen, you did not contend that this unmasked person was a member of federal law enforcement and instead contended that they were a college student. Is that correct?
Objection to form.
He's so proud of himself.
Just crosses his arms and leans back in his chair.
Oh, shit.
Get your feet off the desk. I mean, I think my post speaks for itself.
No. Actually, that's kind of why I have to ask you, is because I really would like an answer.
I think my post is being very, very literal.
Okay. What I'm trying to figure out is, it seems to me that the Zero Hedge tweet is essentially floating the idea that this unmasked person is a member of federal law enforcement. And I just want to get to the idea that that's not what you were contending.
Objection to form? I can't understand you.
I don't understand what you're...
Let's try it this way. Were you contending he was a member of federal law enforcement?
Objection to form.
No, because I say he looks like someone who wants to join the government.
Thank you.
Based on the prior things, the prior post and another maybe, you know, a probable false flag situation. And the reason I put at Community Notes is so that Community Notes is the fact-checking system on the platform, and they can. I'm calling on them to fact-check the situation.
Sure, we're going to talk about that too. In fact, let's talk about it. You tagged Community Notes, which, okay, not everybody, I think, understands what Community Notes is, so let me see if I can summarize it fairly. By tagging Community Notes, through a system of voting, had the ability to add a note correcting the Zero Hedge tweet. Is that right?
That's not how Community Notes works.
I thought there was a voting system that notes are voted on, and if they get enough votes from people of differing political beliefs and backgrounds, that it can be displayed on a tweet. Is that not how it works?
That is the latter part of your explanation is correct.
Okay.
The community note to be surfaced, people who have historically disagreed must agree in order for a note to be displayed.
Okay, so let's make it really simple so people can understand what Community Notes is. Community Notes is a system where notes are proposed by Twitter users, and if those notes get enough votes by members of the Community Notes community, they can be displayed on tweets to correct them.
Yes.
Okay.
It requires people who historically have disagreed to agree. It's not simply a popularity contest.
And so if a consensus among those folks developed that said, you know what, Mr. Musk is right, Zero Hedge is wrong, this isn't a law enforcement person, Community Notes, if a consensus developed, had the ability to put a note on Zero Hedge's tweet.
Objection to form.
Or mine.
Or yours, or anyone's, right?
Correct.
Okay. When you said, looks like one is a college student who wants to join the government, you were referring to the person in the screenshots we saw earlier in the tweets from Dr. Frenzor and Matt Wallace 888, correct?
I assume so. Those were, I think there were two people I referred to previously, and that's what I'm referring to here. And I'm speculating here and saying it looks like one is a college student and maybe the other is an Antifa member, but it's a probable but not certain false flag situation. And I'm requesting community notes to dig into this and assess the veracity of the situation.
When you posted your tweet, you weren't certain that this college student was actually one of the brawlers?
That's why I'm not certain. That's why I say it looks like it, like instead of it, you know.
And in fact, so when you said looks like, your message was not to tell everybody, hey, I'm sure he's one of the brawlers, but just that you had seen information suggesting that he was one of the brawlers. Is that fair?
Yeah, it looks like means that he may be a college student.
And that would be, excuse me, keep going.
That's just a literal sort of statement of my impression, which is
right.
That it looks like just, you know, if I said something looks like a donut, and it doesn't mean it is a donut, it could be a bagel.
I just really adore that this is really a thing that he said on a legal record.
Yep.
It's such a special moment to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I have ever seen a donut that is a bagel. I don't think I've ever seen a bagel that could be a donut. Like,
it's not even a good analogy.
There's also there's an
now,
established phrase that he could use, you know, if you hear hooves, you don't think zebra. Like,
right.
Everybody knows that. And he went with this.
Yeah.
Let me try to give you an example. If you said, looks like a donut, that would mean you had seen information or in some way gathered data that would support the idea that maybe that's a donut. Is that fair?
Objection to form.
I think this is a very simple post, and just if you said that person looks like my brother, that doesn't mean they are your brother.
Right. But you're saying looks like one is a college student. What I would take to mean that you, from what we'd seen before from these tweets, you had seen information that suggested that this college student was the brawler, but you weren't sure of that?
Objection as to form.
I'm just literally saying this looks like. I mean, I can see a picture of my brother and say that, and say that looks like my brother, but it might not be my brother.
Right. But you had been given information in the previous days that, you know, we saw tweets from Dr. Frenzor and from Matt Wallace saying it was this person. You weren't saying that, right? You were just saying you had seen information, not that you were sure. Am I fair about that?
I'm literally saying that it looks like one is a college student and maybe another is an Antifa member, and I'm asking community notes to sort of fact check this.
Let me try it this way. The reason that you're saying that it looks like one is a college student is because of the posts that we had just talked about. Because you had seen those posts. That's why you're saying this tweet, right?
That's probably why I'm saying this.
Okay. You knew when posting your tweet that readers would not know what information you saw to reach this conclusion, right?
Objection to form.
Well, not necessarily, because what tends to happen is there will be a sequence of replies where that even in the absence of community notes, if something is inaccurate on the system or it's a debatable issue, there will be a series of replies that argue about the substance of a post.
Okay. But let's assume I'm the first person to read this tweet. Let's assume... You see how here it says it was posted 30 minutes from when the screenshot was taken, and there were already 384 replies. Do you see that?
Yes.
let's assume I'm reply number 1. Let's assume I saw your post 1 second after it was posted. You understood when posting that tweet that if I'm that number 1 reply, I would not know what information you saw to reach your conclusion. Do you agree with that?
Objection, form.
Or you may.
Or may not, right?
If you're the very first one, no.
Objection to form.
Right. And so what I guess I'm saying here is there's nothing in the text of your tweet that would tell me what information you relied on to say that it looks like one is a college student. Do you agree with that?
In my text?
Yes.
It does not have it does not have that context.
Okay. If I'm the first reader of this tweet, I wouldn't know if you saw something from Dr. Frenzor or Matt Wallace or somebody else. I wouldn't know, would I?
Objection to form. It's not a proper question.
I guess I decline to answer on advice of counsel.
Are you instructing him not to answer?
No, I mean, if he understands the question, he can answer it. It's not a proper question.
Look, there's no need for the commentary about if questions are proper or if they're not. That's not necessary. You know it's not necessary. You know the only reason to do it would be to influence the witness. So if you have an instruction not to answer, go ahead and give it. If you have an objection, go ahead and give it. But as far as commentary to the witness, it is not necessary.
No, sir, it's not. I just told the witness he can answer. There's nothing about me commenting that all of these hypothetical what if I saw this, what if I saw that questions are not proper questions. I'm surprised you don't know they're not proper questions, so...
Everything you're saying.
Can I finish?
The saddest man.
Can I finish? I'm making my record, so the reason I'm making that comment is to sort of try to signal to you that if you ask 9 out of 10 improper questions, eventually you're going to get an objection from me, and maybe just ask proper questions. There's nothing about me saying that changes what he's going to answer. That's not how witness coaching works, and I'm surprised you don't know that. So in any event, all I said was that's not a proper question. It's not a proper question. Any judge reviewing this will tell you it's not a proper question. And if he can answer, he can answer.
All right. Again, I'm going to ask you again to obey Rule 199.5 because nothing about what you're doing is proper, and you know that. So I'm going to ask him the question. So I'm going to ask him the question again.
We disagree.
And if he can understand it, then he'll answer it. Okay? You knew that a reader of your tweet, when posting your tweet, your state of mind when posting this tweet, you knew that a reader of this tweet would not know from your tweet whether you saw information from Dr. Frenzor or Matt Wallace or anybody else. They wouldn't know, right?
They may not know immediately, but they would know it soon after, and they would also know that there would be many future comments, and there would probably be a community note to figure out the veracity of what I'm saying or the probable accuracy of what I'm saying. Anyone who uses the system would know that there's going to be a vigorous debate about something like this, and they would know that they could look at a community note in the future to understand the whether this is accurate or not accurate. And I think I really did this in good faith, because I would not ask for a fact check, which is what I do by adding community notes. That's asking for a fact check on my own on my own post.
Well, you're asking for it on Zero Hedge's post, aren't you?
No, I'm asking for it on my post and his post.
Okay.
People who've used the system know if you at community notes, this is requesting fact check community notes. That's what it means, and people know that.
All right. So let's say again that I'm the first person who reads this. You're saying that if I'm a sophisticated user, I would know to come back at some later time and see how this debate has developed. Is that right?
No, I think that's any user who's on the system for any period of time.
Well, I don't do that. I mean, I'm a casual user of Twitter, right?
That's how it works, though.
And so you would agree with me that if I was the first person who saw this tweet and then I saw it and I digested it and then I never cared to come back and look again, I wouldn't see any of that information, right?
Objection to form.
I think that is basically no one on the system, and I think you're being disingenuous about what you're saying. I don't think that's how you use the system.
Okay. You understand that Ben wanted...
I'm very clear here, and people understand that when you add community notes, you're literally asking for, please check the accuracy of this statement, and would include the post that I'm replying to.
Did they?
I don't know.
You understand that Ben wanted you to delete your tweet and make a retraction.
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that? That's interesting. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you why you refused that, but if you're not aware that a request was made to apologize and delete this and make a retraction.
Objection. Asked and answered. Form.
I don't recall that, no.
Okay. If you knew right now, knowing right now that Ben is really upset that this tweet is still up and that he wanted there to be a retraction, how do you feel about that?
Objection to form. How do you feel about it? How is that? How do you feel about it? How is that relevant?
Mr. Spiro.
Now to the 4 deposition topics. We're on, I guess, topic 4. We've addressed 1 through 3. How is that relevant to 4?
Because in Gonzalez versus Hearst Corp 930 SW seconds 275, a refusal to print a retraction is evidence of an action after the publication, but it can lend support to a claim that reckless disregard or knowledge existed at the time of publication. Similarly, in New Times versus Isaacs, Texas Supreme Court 2004 146 SW 3rd 144, refusal to retract an exposed error tends to support a finding of actual malice, and conversely, a readiness to retract tends to negate actual malice. So again, I'll pose my question.
Yeah, I'll look at those cases, but he's not answering that right now. I don't see the relevance. I don't think those cases, I'm pretty confident those cases are not directly on point, so I'll review the cases so we can respond further.
All right. Next time, I'd appreciate it if you showed up in a deposition with a Texas lawyer who had an understanding of Texas law of actual malice.
Well, I'd appreciate it if you weren't a bitch.
Okay, you keep filing these silly, frivolous shakedown cases. I'll keep trying to think of Texas lawyers to bring to your depositions.
Mr. Musk, I will tell you I'm trying to be as civil as I can in this deposition with you and your attorney. I'd appreciate it. These random, insulting, professionally demeaning really have no place here.
You just did the same thing and I responded in kind, so keep moving with the deposition. You're running out of time.
You think that's what happened here?
I know, this is...
God.
Yep.
I know this is your big day in the sun. You're running out of time.
Talk about big days in the sun, Mr. Musk. I want to talk about how you browse and see information on Twitter. You have an account called @ElonMusk where you browse and interact on Twitter, correct?
Yes.
Can we bring up tab E? All right. Is this another account that you use to see tweets on Twitter?
I don't use that account. I think I briefly had it as a test account.
Well, that's what I'm asking. In the summer of 2023, right, which is when I'm seeing this post on here, was this an account that you would use where you would see tweets on Twitter?
No, I would not use this account. It was just used for testing.
I mean, look, there's a tweet I see. There's more tweets on this account, right? Were you posting and viewing tweets with this account?
Objection, asked and answered. I don't see the relevance to the fourth question. Move on.
I need to know what...
He's not answering. He just answered you twice. He's not answering any more questions about this account.
Well, I'm going to put it on the record why I'm asking this question in case I need to put it in a motion, which is I need to know all the accounts that you've used to view tweets on Twitter during this time period so I can tell what else you've interacted with on Twitter.
Well, he just told you he didn't use this account. He already answered that question.
Right. And I was asking a follow-up about that. Because the tweet has posts on it does not mean that you used it to view tweets at this time. Or am I wrong about that?
I briefly use this account as a test account. There are only 2 accounts that I use on a regular basis. One is my main account, and the other is Baby Smoke 9000. I want a fucking Oscar for this.
Baby Smoke 9000.
Sweet Jesus. Oh my god. Okay. And then you said on a regular basis. Are there any other alt accounts that you were using to view tweets in the summer of 2023?
No.
Okay. I was looking at the Twitter rules you had in effect in the summer of 2023, and it looked like Twitter employed people who enforced platform integrity and authenticity, including things like crisis misinformation. Is that correct?
I'm going to object, and I'd like an explanation as to the relevance of this.
Because I need to know what kind of information he had access to, what investigations he could have had capable, and which ones he might have ignored deliberately.
Well, I don't see the relevance, but I'll let you ask the question.
I mean, we have a team in this regard. I don't delve into what the team does.
Well, all I'm asking at this point is there are people employed at Twitter who enforce things like platform integrity and authenticity. That exists.
There is, but by authenticity, what that means essentially people who do impersonations, so it's stopping people from impersonating public figures.
Sure.
There is a sort of enforcement of the law, so if somebody's posting something illegal, that needs to be taken down. That would be, if something is illegal or, in some form, essentially, then that team would take it down.
I noticed there was a note for crisis misinformation. I imagine if there's a huge public crisis, a storm, a bomb, and somebody's spreading information that could get people hurt, that's something that is meant by crisis misinformation.
The primary system we rely on is community notes, which we found to be far better than the so-called misinformation experts.
Okay. But as Elon Musk, are you allowed at Twitter to just grab one of these employees who is involved in platform integrity and say, hey, can you help me figure out if something I saw is legit? Are you allowed to do that, or is that misappropriating the company's property?
That is, in theory, something I could do, but I don't. I rely upon community notes for fact-checking. I find it to be the best system on the internet.
Right. What I'm just saying is, are you allowed to do that? If you were to grab an employee at Twitter and say, hey, could you help me figure something out? Are you going to get in trouble? Is somebody going to come tell you, Elon Musk, you are not allowed to do that?
Objection to form.
I mean, I could ask someone.
Okay.
But but the nature of our enforcement is to enforce what is in accordance with the law.
These people who are doing their jobs, do they have access to internal Twitter tools to help them do their job?
Yes.
Object to form.
The data they have access to. Are you allowed to have access to it?
In theory, yes, but I've never requested access to it.
Is there anyone with the authority to say about a piece of data at Twitter, to say to you, no, Mr. Musk, you can't have that, or you can't share that with anyone?
Objection to form. And again, I'm going to ask again, what is the possible relevance of this to the single tweet that we're here on in a defamation case? Can you just explain that to me?
Sure. Because when he was confronted with... Again, this is kind of bizarre that I'm explaining this in front of your witness, but if he was confronted with information that made him maybe want to go suggest that, hey, maybe this college student was involved in this brawl, if he had access to people who were able to tell him or give him more data about this, and he has that authority, I need to know.
You're saying that if he... Your point is that he had other avenues to investigate this?
That he deliberately ignored, correct.
I think it's an objectionable question, but I'll let him answer it.
Thank you. Is there... Let me repeat the question for you, just because there was a long objection, so I want to make sure you understand the question. Is there anyone with the authority to say about a piece of data at Twitter, no, Mr. Musk, you cannot see that, or you cannot share that with anyone?
I mean, I regard privacy as being very important, so I've never asked for the private information of any user. And as you saw in that post, I requested community notes to investigate. Community notes, I find, is far better than the so-called professional misinformation experts, and that has been proven time and again.
Well, I'm confused by your answer because I still don't know if there's anyone with the authority at Twitter to tell you about a piece of data at Twitter that you cannot have access to it or you cannot share it. Is there anyone who can do that? Or, like with the Twitter files, you're pretty much allowed to do what you want?
I think there would be...
Objection to form.
It would be illegal for me to access private information of individuals.
Okay. Well, I'm not talking necessarily about private information about individuals, but I'm talking about anything that is used by the platform integrity team about data from the platform itself, how they analyze the public data on the platform. Are you allowed to see that?
The platform integrity is simply trying to assess if something that is posted is illegal or not.
The Deposition is made by Hug House Productions. You can find our work at hughouse.productions. Our showrunner, director, and editor is Will Williams, who also plays the court reporter and also is me. Bankston is played by Elena Fernandez-Collins. Spiro is played by Anne Baird. Elon Musk is played by Josh Rubino. The videographer is played by C.N. Josephs. Mr. Grant is played by Zach Orsolak. Music by Blue Dot Sessions. Justice for Ben Brody. Please don't sue us.